Okay. So you guys have had a moment to script out. I know you probably didn't get all the way through, but that's all right. It takes a little bit of time, but we can add to it later. But what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to exchange. Everybody look at each other's script
chicken scratch.
and just look over each other's script and say what you like about the script, what you notice about your colleague's script, and what you might want, something that you may want to take away and add to your own script. So let's just take a couple of minutes of judgment. I know we did it last night.
I don't know. Like there's a little blurb here, but I can put it in there. So I realized I didn't see that.
Let's get to it. Let's see what's going on. Yeah.
What should read?
Can't we just read our script?
Oh,
Would that be better?
I don't think we have time to just read each
I
one.
don't think anybody finished. But we
No,
can
No,
just
she
start.
said
just
here.
what you see so far. What did you like about their script? That you like? Oh, I like how they did this. I think I would add that to my script. That's your own hairstyle.
I'm just gonna read echoes.
Okay.
For the sake of time.
Okay.
You know, some women don't even know what digital is. I have to remind them what digital is. That part.
That vocabulary.
That's that further away. You want this?
I'll go over here.
Talk about her.
You got further than me, girl.
All right.
They'll probably just say, I need you to figure out where if I needed to. Unbundle.
Oh yeah, I forgot we're supposed to put that in there.
I think this is really good.
I think this is really good.
Okay. All right.
I forgot to add some of this language.
So let's lift up some of the things y'all see. That's all a lot.
Having the students recall, so like if once we tell them what they're gonna look for, having them recall and give it back to us, so they, like we know that they know what we're getting ready to do.
Yes. So before you go into your model,
Right,
giving them their thinking job and having them say it back
right.
like that. So I even saw a teacher have it written on the board or have it written on his angle chart. Miss Clark did that. So
Oh, okay.
that's how I did too, having that thinking job already written or write it up for them, just to remind them. But I like that, having them recall it. Anything else? Anything you see? Echoes?
I like the way, first of all, I like the she said action. And I like the way she said, I also noticed that this is a subtraction problem, meaning I only have to build my total. Just re-emphasizing that the whole is all you're focusing on. So I really, really like that part. I think that is essential.
Good, good.
Understanding, connecting the whole with subtraction, that's all you're focusing on.
And I wanna lift up what you said about the action too, being able to separate the model from everything else, so students know, okay, I'm now performing for you, you're watching me, so having that, I forgot what they call it, like cue in or cue out of the model, so that's important. One thing I liked in Ms. Harris Stockton, I thought she had a really strong thinking job. It's important to make sure the thinking job is centered around the key understanding of the lesson, which is kids knowing when and how to unbundle their tens and their ones. So that was what her thinking job was around. So I think it's important to make sure that your thinking job is really getting at the key understanding of what we want students to know for that lesson.
How did you word that?
I went back and tried to figure out, like, cause I forgot that I didn't give them a thinking job, but, just kinda like, just saying like, as I like, kinda go through my, the process, I wanted to make sure that they would be able to, like, the thinking job would be able to tell me when I needed to, when and if I needed to unbundle. Like, if I needed to unbundle a 10 or unbundle 100. So if and when I needed to, like, unbundle.
All right, now I'm gonna give you guys, the script that you can, return. And I'm gonna give you a chance to look over it and see if there's anything that you notice, anything you like, any questions you have. You're like, oh, why'd you do this? I wouldn't do that, you know? So, you can kind of add that. So I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes to look that over.
I think he's like Miss Omega.
Putting it back on them.
Okay. Also, okay, Kamari Tangi ride that bus. So Kamari Tangi also rides that bus. Kamari Tangi now gets on that bus too.
Yep.
Yeah, he's on that bus. He needs to be on that bus too. His mother said, "Do not pull off without him on that bus." He's okay.
Okay, so anything y'all want to, I'll give you a couple more minutes. I know it's a little long.
Is the part that's in bold print like really what you want to emphasize to them, like parts that you like? Probably you said stamp it, kind of.
And they directly
This is
clock
good.
tied to a gap. So anything, so you notice I bolded to make sure that I was hitting the gaps that we discussed. Anything else?
The questions that you asked yourself along the way. Where was it? Do I need to build out 587 too? No, I don't need to build that because that's one of my parts. I can just write it in plain form. And then putting the whys, so instead of just saying, okay, we're gonna start in the one place, no, the lowest place value.
And that's again lifting the thinking. Because sometimes we do stuff and we forget the kids don't understand why we're doing that. So we want to lift that up. Did you guys take a look at the follow-up questions? What did you notice about the follow-up questions? What did I do for each follow-up question?
I'll put, I guess, the students that we're gonna call on.
Because those questions do speak directly to those gaps that we talked about. them possibly having. Because you don't, one thing we want to make sure we're doing is we are allowing students to have access. And so we're asking the students, instead of asking the same students all the questions, or students we know are going to give us the correct response, we're going to ask students to those students, like some of those things that we know we hit in the model. Well, now we're going to ask that further off student a question that directly relates to them, and that gap that we identify for them. So, who's one of your further off students?
Remy.
Remy. So we would ask Remy, how did the number bond help us show this is a subtraction problem? Because Remy may struggle to understand why that problem, when to subtract, or how to use the number bond to help them recognize that missing part. Or what's one of your partially there students, Ms. Apples? Bella. If we don't have enough tens to subtract, what can we do? So that her being able to restate exactly what you need to do. So that could be a partially there or further off. But you wouldn't want to ask one of your almost there students that, because they probably knew that going in.
Right.
But you may want to ask them something about the mental math strategies that you mentioned. Because that's a gap they had. Something like that. Why couldn't I use mental math to solve this? All right? Make sense?
Yeah.
So that I was just thinking about that because I feel that my kids that are partially there and further off, they don't have that concept of, oh, I can't use the compensation strategy because it's not closest to the next 100, or I feel like the people on grade level or above grade level will have that concept. So I could ask a question, that particular question, to directly to them.
Whereas we're just trying to get the other students to build their understanding of when to subtract or when to unbundle.
So when you're modeling, especially when you're modeling, you should always have questions for each group. I like that.
They call it a monitoring pathway. So it's like pre-planned questions, and you already have certain students in mind. I know I'm gonna ask these questions for these students that are like my yellow students, these students that are maybe more my red students, and some of my high yellows, greens can answer these questions, making sure, because otherwise, those high kids are gonna be answering everything. So
I like that, right? I do.
all right, well.
That's a lot.
Now it's the go time. We want to go live. We want to have one of you guys kind of just practice for us.
Want to join us?
If you like, or you can use your own script. It's up to you. Just getting up there, and let's focus on, because we only have maybe like not even 10 minutes, a little over 10 minutes, maybe 11 minutes. Let's focus on which part of this do you think? You guys are you comfortable with setting up the model? Because I know it's been a minute since I've seen you guys model. But are you comfortable with that part? What part do you think you would need to practice the most?
I don't think it's the practice. I think for me, it's just the writing it out. And like these questions, the questions are very intentional. Making sure like my language and vocabulary is very explicit and detailed. This is very detailed.
Well, I'll tell you what, we can start at the beginning and just go, and I'll cut you off if we run out of time. So what?
I did have a question.
Yes.
So, looking at your script, this seems so much better than the Eureka script.
Yes. Right.
So is that okay?
Absolutely. And think about it. You wouldn't necessarily do this for every lesson, but when you're introducing a new concept, you want to take the Eureka script and turn it into an explicit model. Give yourself an opportunity. So those will be the times where you would take that script and say, this is, or a small group where you have kids that just don't have a clue and you need to explicitly model, that's when you would do a script. So you don't necessarily need to change every Eureka script, but for lessons where you're introducing a new concept, this is the first time they're being taught this, or something where you know it's real heavy and you need to model the thinking, that's where you would go in and say, let me see which one of these problems I want to model for them.
Okay.
And you would go in and, so that's an excellent question. And this is something that the district is pushing because they recognize that Eureka doesn't give a lot of explicit modeling opportunities, but our students need that. They need to know the why. We have to model the thinking for them if we're going to build problem solvers and critical thinkers. So you got to show them how to think.
Okay.
So yes, that's why the modeling is so important. All right, you want to give it a try? Okay.
Go, Ms. Echols.
Go, Ms. Echols.
Where are we starting from? And I don't have my
Just start
glasses
from the
on.
beginning. Sorry.
Okay.
Just start from the beginning, and we're your students. All right, go ahead.
Okay, class, I'm going to model for you. Remember, when I model, I'm going to show you how to think through solving a problem. I am putting on a performance like a play. Your role is to watch and listen. You have a thinking job that I want you to listen for and to be able to answer at the end, okay? So your thinking job is the following. How does Ms. Eccles know when to unbundle? Carter, what's your thinking job?
How does Ms. Eccles know when to unbundle?
Okay, so now that you have your thinking job, I'm going to go into character, okay? So remember, you are watching and listening. Action. Okay, so we've just completed problem 1, where we could use mental math strategies to solve. Now I have a new problem. It's 941, which is 900s, 4 10s, 1 1s, minus or take away 587, 500s, 8 10s, 7 1s. I'm wondering if I could use a mental math strategy to solve this problem. Well, neither number is close to the benchmark number, like 900 or 500. So I cannot use the compensation strategy to solve this problem. Also, I have 41 ones in my total, but I am taking away 87 ones. I can't do that mentally. So I am going to use my place value chart to solve. So I know when I subtract, I have a total, and I'm taking away a part to find the missing part. So let me show that in a number line to help me remember what I am looking for. So right here, I am going to put the whole right here. And the one part I also have is the 587 is one part. So now I'm going to look at my total, which is 941, and I'm noticing that my total has 3 digits, 1s, 10s, and 100s. So I must make a place value chart with 1s, 10s, and 100s. And since 941 is my total, my whole, I'm going to build it out on my place value chart. So let me begin to do that. Okay, so there are 9 hundreds. Remember, I'm going to organize them in rows of 5. Okay, there are 4 10s, and there's only 1 1. Okay, so now the part that I know is, remember the part I know is 587, which I'm going to take away from 941. What do I do with 587? Do I need to build it out too? I know. No, I don't need to build it out because I'm going to take this part away from the total to find the missing part. So I can just write 587 in standard form to remind me of how many ones, tens, and hundreds I'm going to subtract or take away from my total. Now I am ready to solve. Where do I begin? Yes, I always begin subtracting in the lowest place value. So I will begin with my ones in my ones columns. Let me see. I have 1 1 and I want to subtract 7. Am I ready to subtract my ones? No, because I don't have enough ones. I remember when I don't have enough ones to subtract, I have to unbundle or decompose a 10 to get 10 more ones. Okay.
I know Branson's gonna be in the
Yep.
class.
Okay.
He's on, like, he's at the
I got it. So I just want to tell you guys, it is perfectly fine to have your script with you on your clipboard when you're delivering this, and to, you, of course, you're not going to just be
Right.
here. You want to internalize it somewhat, but referencing it is perfectly fine. So don't have an issue with that.
Okay.
All right. Can you guys send me when you plan on the date? Can y'all email me the date that y'all plan on teaching lesson 15?
Okay.
So I can put it on my calendar.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.